Good morning and welcome to Great Tree Zen Women's Temple. Our speaker this morning is the Reverend Shoju, and she's in France. We welcome her, and the fact that she's flying across the Atlantic is wonderful. Okay, but first a short message about Dana. In Buddhism, when practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is the offered freely as a practice of Dana Paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return, the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice Dana are to offer support to those who share the teaching, support places of practice, and to give without judgment, expectations upon when opportunities arise. Those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a Dana basis. Please support their practice by giving what you can. And we have put the information for the Reverend in the chat. You may send her.
You can send it directly
to her.
You don't have a PayPal?
No, I know her. No.
Okay.
You put your banking information in, but I didn't feel safe using that on an online kind of
If
thing.
anybody would rather send it that way, get in touch with me. And okay.
Okay.
No, either way, either way, a check is fine too.
Okay.
Nothing.
American check is okay.
Excuse me?
An American check is okay.
Yeah, I have an account in the States too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, one of those transcontinental.
Right.
So I want to say thank you before we read the, thank you so much for doing this. It's so nice to connect with our.
Thank you for asking me.
Yes, thank you so much. And I just want to mention that I saw, we've known each other for quite a while. I was trying to think this morning when I even met you.
Well, I'm going to tell you because I was thinking about it. It's just 20 years ago.
20 years?
Yeah. In the fall of 2003, when you came to Mount Equity.
Oh, okay.
With a group and that's when I met Okumura Roshi too.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you'll hear her bio. She's studied both with Dai-En Bennage and also Shohaku Okumura, and also at the Nisodo.
Yes.
Aichi Senmon Nisodo.
2 angos, yeah.
And then we ran into each other at the 20th anniversary of Sanshin last summer. And this is why we're here today.
And you probably don't remember, but I came to a Great Tree once. I was going through Rashville, and I called you up, and you said, come on up, and we talked for about 20 minutes or so.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember.
So I know your place. I've been there.
Oh, right.
In practice, but then I stopped.
Is it on?
Yeah. That was about 10 years ago, so.
Yes, I do actually vaguely remember that.
Yep.
Good. Right.
And I
So
just want to
Yes.
say one more thing. The other link I have with all of you is that last summer, I got a chance to practice with Chimio when she was in France.
Oh, really?
So,
Oh,
yeah.
this was just.
And we have a common Dharma friend who lives in France and that I've had for 3 years probably. And they practiced together, Chimio and my friend Joke.
Yes.
Practice at the Nisodo.
At the Nisodo, yes.
So they're close. So she invited my friend Joke invited Chimio, and she came, and I was very happy to meet her. We practiced. She's such a nice, quiet person.
Unlike me. We balance each other.
Yeah, that's great. Anyways, that's the link I have with all of you.
So usually what we do is we start with a chant and we read the bio. Is that how we go?
Yeah,
do
you've practically covered the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So we've already covered the bio. So now we'll start with the chant. And unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million cosmos.
Now
Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching.
Well, I decided to read basically and talk about it. What I wrote for that Adding Beauty to Brocade, the book that was published at Sanshin for is the 20th anniversary of Sanshin.
Yes.
And Okumura Roshi stepping down and Hoko Garnigus stepping up. So when Tejo asked me, and I said, okay, as long as I don't have to write a new one. So she said, fine, you can read this. So that's what I'm going to do. And it turns out that it's about Dana. So you probably know most of it, but I'm still going to read it. So Dana, which is offering. When I began to practice, I sat in a small Zendo in the middle of the woods of New Hampshire by a brook. To me, it was heaven on earth. Hogetsu, the monk who opened the Zendo, always said, I'm not a teacher, and if we seemed interested in continuing to practice, he encouraged us to find one. So after a couple of years, I went to several Zen centers and temples looking for a teacher with whom I felt an affinity and could practice and study. At the time, I was living in the US. In one temple in California, a monk taught me the practice of gyowatsu, the formal way of eating meals with several bowls we wrapped in a cloth tied by a large knot. At the end of the meal, when it was time to rewrap the bowls in the cloth, this monk said, folding the edge of the fabric away from him over the bowls, we give, and folding the other edge toward himself, he said, and we receive. I do not remember the name of the monk, but those words pierced my whole being, even though I did not perceive their profound meaning. This teaching 30 years ago was a pure offering from a monk who did not know me. Today, I continue to deepen its significance in my life, and those words keep on supporting my practice. Sometimes we give with a calculating mind, selfishly, expecting to receive something in exchange, if only an expression of gratitude. Or we might give solely depending on our affinities. We choose who we give to. This is called giving with intention. Or maybe we mention the point of view of a person we think is powerful in hopes of obtaining what we want. And when we have to give someone a present, do we look around our belongings to find an object we no longer need and can dispense with? None of these are offerings, of course, only self-centered actions, and do not help anyone, and certainly not us. It does not help the Dharma flow. So dana, the Sanskrit word dana, offering, does not mean a one-way gift, nor is it give and take. In English, the words to donate and donation come directly from dana and mean to abandon something voluntarily, neither expecting something in exchange nor knowing who receives it. In early Buddhism, since the days of Shakyamuni Buddha, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, monks and nuns, offer Dharma teachings to lay people, who in turn offer them clothing, food, and medicine. In Thailand, a country of the Theravada tradition, I saw in the streets of Bangkok very early in the morning, monks carrying their large metal bowls hanging from their necks and receiving cooked food from lay practitioners. Our Sangha here in Alès recently invited Ajahn Medino, a Theravada bhikkhu who lives in Sri Lanka and practices in the tradition of the forest monks of Ajahn Chah. He lives on alms and eats only the food he receives. If he's not offered food, he doesn't eat. His brother Shal practices in our Sangha, and so Ajahn Medino came to our temple, Hosuiji, and offered the teaching of his traditional way of meditation. In turn, our Sangha had the opportunity to practice the offering of food as dana to a renunciant, each one of us in turn placing some in his large bowl before he retired to eat by himself. In our tradition, when we eat formally with the bowls, we chant. Now we set out Buddha's bowls. May we, with all living beings, realize the emptiness of the three wheels, giver, receiver, and gift. Here, Buddha means awakening, as it very often does. The practice of Gyoatsu helped us to awaken to the reality that everything is interconnected. When we realize how many causes and conditions are present in order for this food to be in our bowl or on our plate, we begin to perceive that we are not a knot in Indra's net. How many people have worked for us, not knowing who would eat the food we now receive? When we eat, we receive much more than just food. We receive everything that contributed to its being in our bowl, from the earth, the sun, the rain, the farmers, the workers in the store, the Tenzo. We realize that we receive from all directions and that this food is not only ours, but everyone's nourishment. And when we comprehend, when we take in, with more than only the intellect, the fact that we cannot and do not exist alone, we are less attached to our thoughts being always the only valid way to see things. It becomes part of our daily life, and we therefore create fewer problems and live in harmony with other people and nature. Dana as paramita. In our tradition, when we receive the Bodhisattva precepts, we vow to help all beings to attain liberation from the three poisonous minds, greed, anger, and delusion. Before making this vow, we are pulled by our karma, and as bodhisattvas, there has to be a change in the way we live. When we see that we are going in the wrong direction, we observe our actions and again take up the correct path. In order to cross, we have to make an effort. And this effort is the practice of the paramitas, which is a very down-to-earth practice of our daily lives on the path. It is the practice of dana, offering, and helping all beings cross before us to the shore of peace, no fear, and understanding. Paramita means perfection or perfect realization, and in Chinese, the kanji means crossing to the other shore, the shore of liberation. When we act selflessly, by including everyone, we all cross at the same time. To truly practice the 6 paramitas is to be free of self-clinging and of holding on to any idea for the good of all beings, and this is expressing compassion through our actions. The 6 paramitas are guides for our lives, not rules to judge ourselves or others. Dana, generosity, giving, offering is the first. It is giving, caring with no conditions, giving with no grasping, hands, mind, and heart open. It is not being attached to the offering, the giver, or the receiver. That's what the 3 wheels are. The 5 other paramitas are sila, or proper conduct, morality, honesty, uprightness, ethics, precepts. It is leading a correct way of life. Shanti, patience, tolerance, acceptation, inclusivity. It is embracing all beings. Virya, energy, diligence, effort, courage, resolve. It is continuous practice. Dhyana, meditation, concentration, vigilance, zazen. It is the manifestation of zazen in our lives through action. Prajna, wisdom, understanding through right view and right intent. It is the perfection of understanding. The image of water and waves is sometimes used to help us understand that nothing exists by itself. The ocean is made up of all kinds of waves. Small waves, beautiful waves, foamy waves, huge waves, calm waves. All waves are waves, and they are the ocean as well. They have no separate existence from the ocean's existence. Water is the ground of being of each wave. It is important that the waves know that they are the ocean. And it is essential that we understand that we, each one of us, are part of the interdependence of all beings. We need to make an effort and practice paramitas to actualize this understanding. Prajna, the 6th paramita, is the perfection of understanding, the highest kind of perception, free from all concepts, ideas, and points of view. Free from thinking that our beliefs are the only correct ones. The 5 first paramitas, in order to be paramitas, contain the 6th paramita, this deep wisdom. Without it being present, they are not ordinary, without being present, without prajna being present, they are ordinary activities, but not paramitas. In Mahayana Buddhism, prajna paramita is described as the mother of all Buddhas. Everything that is good, beautiful, and true is born from prajna paramita. She's in us. We only need to touch her to help her manifest herself, says the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. This wisdom is something very basic, not something grand and lofty. It is something down to earth, grounded, something we can all manifest in everyday life. With its support, we're able to go forward with compassion and understanding. And Manjushri, one of the great Bodhisattvas, represents wisdom. He usually sits on the lion on the altar in the Zendo or the monk's hall in a temple. This image is of the lion's roar expounding the Dharma. In some tradition, Manjushri holds the sword that cuts through ignorance and duality to help us. Because the paramitas contain prajna, each one of the 6 includes the other 5. When we practice one, we practice them all. Everything's interdependent. Yuko Okumura, who's the Okesa sewing teacher at Sanshin, told me that during her training, it was as a sewing teacher, the students practiced to be given, She told me that during her training, it was the students' practice to be given measurements for an okesa to be sewn and not know who it was for. This is dana paramita, given with no attachment. The beneficial action carried out simply for its own sake, for the sake of the Dharma. In dana, there is no expectation. And it has the meaning that the giver and the receivers always go together. Along with the gift, they are one. In many Japanese Buddhist traditions, including Zen, takuhatsu, the practice of walking through the streets, stopping in front of each house, and chanting the Heart Sutra, still exists. But nowadays, it is coins that nuns and monks receive in their bowls, held high in both hands. When I practiced, I had the Aichi Senmon Nisodo, the Soto Zen Women's Training Temple in Nagoya. We went out on the alms rounds as a group of 6 or 7 nuns a few times a month. At first, I didn't understand the teachings in takuhatsu practice and did not like it at all. We already had enough to eat at the temple. Today, it is clearer to me. Takuhatsu is a very important practice, teaching us the deep meaning of offering as dana for the sake of all beings. Each time we went out, we would go to a different neighborhood, as Shakyamuni Buddha instructed, walking in the line, halting at every door, be it a house, a shop, or an office. We chanted, "Oh," everywhere we stopped, giving all people, rich or poor, old or young, the opportunity to offer alms and for us to receive or not, with no expectation. And whether we received a coin, were ignored or chased away, we bowed, including everyone. We wore a large bamboo hat hiding our faces. We could not see who gave, and in turn, the donors could not see who they made an offering to or who they ignored. We walked in a line, sometimes really feeling the heat, sometimes really feeling the cold, just walking, just chanting, just bowing in the present moment, simply being. Once, when practicing takuhatsu in a large, very busy market, a young woman ran up to us. She commented very excitedly that we were women and joined the end of the line of nuns. She followed us back to the Nisodo. Through that encounter, she became a Zazen practitioner. Today, I perceive better that takuhatsu is dana paramita, embracing all beings, pervading everywhere, a practice for the sake of the Dharma, not for us personally. Wade Hogetsu Hancock, the priest who opened the Zendo where I started practicing Zazen and met the Dharma, always said, Zazen and the teachings are free, meaning that it is an offering from the monks, priests who teach and guide the practitioners. Nobody owns the Dharma, and Shakyamuni's teachings are always an offering. Once, when I thanked Hogetsu for making a Zendo available for anyone to come and practice, he answered, "It's not me." I was surprised at his answer, but deep down I understood. Of course it was him, but that's at the same time not him. What is it that makes us practice and give? The English expression to embrace, I'm going to talk about offering embracement. The English expression to embrace comes to us from Greek, Latin, and more recently, French. In French, embrasser means in, which means in, and arms, to clasp in the arms. It signifies, among other meanings, to contain, accepting eagerly, to include as part of something broader, or to encompass. Of course, when we embrace somebody, our arms are part of it. It is not a one-way action. We also are included in the embrace. And dana is a beneficial action and encompasses us as well as all beings. Dana is also the underpinning of the four embracing actions. They do not exist without it. When we act with loving speech, act in a beneficial way, or identify with someone and act accordingly, they are all dana, embracement. Everything is touched, embraced by dana, is dana, when the action is genuine and everything is already in the realm of peace, of no fear and steadfastness. Our teacher, Okumura Roshi, says, the practice of awakening to the reality of interdependent origination and expressing it is the reality of the four embracing action, which are offering, loving speech, beneficial action, and identity action. Today in the West, we cannot practice Takuhetsu. How can we, as bodhisattvas, express the reality of life day to day and embody the four embracing actions? What can we offer with equanimity? Material things, giving to all beings in need with no choosing. Dharma teachings, whether we are teacher or lay practitioners. Sometimes a single sentence or action brings understanding and relief to anyone who hears it. We can give caring words, opening our heart and speaking truly with no false words or intention. We can give our attention, being present, body and mind, solid. Being able to receive also is dana. As Westerners, learning to work with others as a group, not saying, oh, I don't need any help. No thanks. I want to do it alone. We can give our freedom. The truth expands endlessly when we are free from greed, anger, and wrong perception. We can give everyone space, letting others just be, not trying to control in order to fulfill our own desire. We can give understanding, living the fact that there are many ways to see things, being in harmony with others and with everything. We can give the example of a Dharma-centered life, whether we live with the Sangha, our family, or alone. Some years ago, I was traveling, going through a very large American airport. I found a spot where I was alone, very happy to be by myself, and was waiting peacefully, reading and drinking a cup of coffee. Suddenly, I perceived the presence of someone arriving noiselessly, and raising my head, I saw a bhikkhu wearing Nyoka robes, who had also found a quiet spot. With no thought, I stood up and offered him the cookies I had just bought. He looked up, surprised, bowed, accepted them, and without a word simply put them in his bag before going to sit by himself. In the city where I live, on my way to the grocery store, I walk by a few young homeless men sitting beside the movie theater, smoking and drinking beer, a hat in front of them. They hope to receive a few coins. I rarely give them money. And why don't I? In my mind, I criticize. I prefer one way of life over another. I choose who to give to. When we look deeply at these two situations, the bhikkhu and the beggar are both homeless, simply human beings. So is each one of us. All human beings are homeless. Nothing belongs to any particular person. There is nothing superior, nothing inferior. Life itself is equanimous. It doesn't choose. We all have the same needs in order to live, and we all receive from the universe. We are all embraced by the Buddha Dharma. We study that each being exists because everything else exists, that we live and awaken together with everyone. And as bodhisattvas, we walk on the Buddha way, the path of awakening or realization in order to help all beings. How can we embrace and embody this practice in our daily lives, each one of us with our own different capabilities? Excuse me, the phone is ringing, but I hope it doesn't bother you. No, okay. When I entered the Aichi Senmon Nisodo for training, all the nuns would walk to the close-by Toganji temple and chant the Hanya Shingyo in front of the huge Buddha statue on the temple grounds. I noticed that there was an open bronze hand on a low pillar close to the statue, and I was curious. Why does Buddha have 3 hands? Then a mother and her young son walked up, and the little boy sat in the palm of the 3rd hand, with fingers curled up around him. It took me a long time to understand what this represents. We are all in the hand of the Buddha. It is not a choice. We always are. We cannot fathom where what we receive comes from, and where what is given reaches. We always live in the hand of the Buddha, and our practice of bodhisattvas is to give and receive with an open mind, with no attachment. This giving and receiving is dana embracement. Dana contains prajna, already said, the great wisdom, which sees emptiness, things as they are. When we offer something, if we're attached to anything, it is not dana, free or grasping. It is not dana embracement. Therefore, nothing in the net of interdependent origination is liberated. Dana, as embracing action, is the practice of working with whatever we encounter in our lives, without trying to control others, without stubbornly striving to obtain whatever we imagine we must have, whether objects, fame, contentment, a certain person, or even understanding. Each one of us is part of this great whole. We each have a place. So why insist on controlling everything? Why close ourselves to life as it is and not walk on the path where everyone has his and her own space? Why not just be? In the Diamond Sutra, the diamond that cuts through illusion, Subhuti, one of Shakyamuni's disciples, asks Shakyamuni how a bodhisattva should practice. Shakyamuni Buddha answers, when bodhisattvas give a gift, they should not be attached to a thing. They should not be attached to a sight when they give a gift, nor should they be attached to a sound, a smell, a taste, a touch, or a dharma. In that sense, Dharma is an existing thing. So, Subhuti, the body of merit of those bodhisattvas who give a gift without being attached is not easy to measure. Merit is not beneficial to one person alone, the giver. When a bodhisattva gives without being attached to anything, everything receives endlessly. And however difficult to fathom it might be, like an endless echo we can no longer hear, it pervades everywhere. This, in and of itself, is dana embracement. A long time ago, my friend Yuko Yamada Wakayama, also a nun, and I were in a restaurant in Japan. As we were leaving, the cook stepped out of the kitchen and prostrated himself in front of us. I was extremely embarrassed, froze, and could not respond in any way. At that moment, I didn't understand the cook's gesture and intention. I took it personally and could not simply forget myself and receive his prostration as dana to the two nuns in front of him. Neither did I perceive the reach of his gesture, far beyond the person bowing and the visible receivers of the prostration at that moment in time. When we bow wholeheartedly to show our gratitude, who bows? Who gives and who receives? And where is the bow? Everything gives through unreserved action. Dana's gratitude is dana embracement. All four embracing actions are actualized, it permeates all and resonates through everything. When giving or receiving, can we just be? Are we able to simply let go of our ideas about ourselves and be one with what is happening in the moment? In this case, whether we give or we receive, the offering, dana, is free from the three poisons, greed, anger, and illusion, and is dana embracement. This practice liberates us from our attachments. It is an offering touching all beings in the universe, and for everyone's benefits as well as our own. Dana is an offering done and received without envy, says my teacher, Okumura Roshi. What is a teacher? I asked him many years ago, and he answered, someone who opens the door. Meaning not someone who closes the door, because that person doesn't particularly care for us, nor someone who pushes you or pushes us through the door, because maybe that person thinks we're not going fast enough through the door, instead of letting us go at our own pace. The longer we practice, the clearer it becomes how much our teachers and Dharma ancestors offer freely and how much we receive from them. The vast dana embracement of their practice and teachings exists endlessly and reaches us all. Deep gratitude to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you have some time for a discussion? We've got about 15 minutes. Is that good?
Yes, that's what I would like, discussion rather than just questions and answers.
Anyone who would like to start?
I would like to start. Every Saturday morning, I read the Dana statement, and I don't think I truly appreciated what I was offering to people to let them offer support to everyone. And thank you for opening my eyes to some things. And I get tired of reading it, but now I don't think I will. I don't think I will now.
We might refine it a little bit.
We might refine it a little bit, yeah.
By the way, we'll have those books. What's it called again? The book, the name
The
of the
book,
book.
Adding Beauty to Brocade.
Right, we'll have copies of that for our craft sale when a craft sale opens. It's a collection of commentaries by various students of Okumura Roshi. Is that correct?
Yes, or some of his disciples' disciples.
Right. Oh, okay. And it's commentary on the Shobogenzo Bodai
It's on the four embracing actions. Yes.
for embracing actions.
Yes, it starts by Okumura Roshi explaining the four
Right.
embracing actions. So it's wonderful.
Right. And Hoko-san, Hoko came and spoke to us in September about her contribution, and what's his name from Rome, the person from Rome, Doryu-san.
Doryu.
Yes, he spoke last month.
Last month.
So thank you for your contribution. Does
Well, thank
anybody
you.
else have any other comments? You know, one of the things that I was thinking as you were talking about prajna, you know, I guess I was sort of looking for what's the definition? How would you define prajna? And then I thought about all the years that I've tried to figure out how to talk about prajna. But could you just say something, by not as a definition, but as a way of understanding prajna? Could you just say something about that?
I don't know if you can actually, there's nothing, you can't really talk about it. It's deep understanding, in the Dharma sense. And of course, if we understand deeply that everything is interconnected, that we are all linked, everything is linked. And then if it shows in our life, in our daily life, in our actions, that's the important part. That's where it, when we actualize it in our life, that it is important. That we don't just keep things closed all the time. But it's I think it takes a long time. But it's a daily practice,
Yeah.
I don't know how to express it any more than that.
But yet, when you're saying that, I'm thinking, but yet it's probably something that we experience, that kind of freedom that it gives us during Zazen.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it takes us a while to recognize it, but then still we have touched the experience. Maybe.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just through Zazen. I mean, of course, Zazen is the base of our practice, the foundation of our life practice and our lives. But then it shows through our daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
Action through our daily. It doesn't just stop at Zazen. If we get up from Zazen and then our life hasn't changed at all, then we need to practice some more.
Yes, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, me too.
My life has changed, but I still need to practice more. Any other thoughts?
I really appreciated you discussing the takuhatsu and sharing about that and how your perspective changed, and really was really moved by your story of walking through the busy market and the woman noticing that you were doing takuhatsu and joining in. And yeah, I was really struck by that, and just how we don't know I guess what will happen or how our actions affect people, and but just that giving and how and that response. really struck.
Thank you.
At one time, the Shumacho was always asking every time I sent something in, they'd say, is there any way that anything you want to have from us, and I used to say, please send Japanese nuns. And finally, they sent two young Japanese nuns, and they arrived a few days before Sesshin. It was a 7-day Sesshin. And there was a whole room full of people, and of course they were in jet lag. And at the end of the Sesshin, I asked them, would they serve the closing tea? And I explained to them how to do it. And when they served the tea, several people in the room wept because they were so affected just by the way that they served the tea. They were from the Nisodo.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's Dana.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. One thing I do think is important that really struck me in Japan, it's just the opposite of the culture itself, of our cultures, whether American or French or any European, is that they work together. The idea that working alone, doing something alone, it just scares them. It's just the opposite from us. Completely scares them. And for us, it's really the opposite. We always think, well, I know how to do it.
Right.
So question I never ask. I ask, have you ever done this? Not, do you know how to do it? Because goodness gracious, we couldn't possibly say, no, I don't know. And learning how to just work with others and not just independently in the group, but as the group is an amazing practice. It's really just amazing. Difficult for us, but amazing. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I would just like to say thank you for passing on Shohaku Okumura's definition of what a teacher is, someone who opens the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I so appreciated you being with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
And,
just had a question.
Yes.
I'm hard of hearing. Y'all mentioned the word Dana. Can someone spell that word for me? I study Buddhism and meditation, but I am not familiar with that term or that word.
Would you like me to?
Yes, please. And if you could
Okay.
spell it, please.
Yeah. Yes, it's very simple. Just four letters. D-A-N-A.
D as in dog.
Thank you.
I thought she said G, so maybe the other person did.
I think it is in the chat. Yeah. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, D as in dog, and it is written in the chat. Matthew pointed out, and we can type it again if you can't see it.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
I don't see it on. I have my chat open, but
She came in late.
I got it. Thank you. Thank
Did you find it?
Yes, I see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very quiet group this morning.
No, it's great.
One thing that stuck out to me was just the practice of no expectations in terms of giving. And I remember reading this book called The Four Agreements that really talks about having no expectations and just doing being generous for the sake of helping other people and not expecting anything in return, which I guess I feel sometimes like life can be very transactional, and it's often very difficult sometimes for me to do things without an expectation of even a thank you, or if I do something very kind where no one might notice, missing that thank you or acknowledgement is sometimes difficult, and I really appreciated you touching several times on that. I feel that's something that I would like to practice more.
It's a difficult practice. Because of course we want to be recognized, be doing something nice. You're not saying anything. You didn't notice. You didn't think. Even just that is, quite a practice. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have an experience of generosity that was really powerful for me, and that was in my practice just being accepted for where I am. And as you had said about being pushed through the door, and just that that generosity of allowing the unfolding to be as it was, not giving up on it, but not that pushing. And in my life, I try to remind myself of that when I'm having like spats with my husband, and just saying, I can be generous here, and I can just allow him to have this perspective without having to counter with my perspective. So that's a big teaching for me, to help minimize my opinions and points of view. It makes things a lot softer with the relationship.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up those points too.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we're almost at 11 o'clock. So I think let's wind it up. Any final comments? Do you want to make a final comment?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
No. Yes. No, I don't. I mean, thank you. Well, I want to say thank you very much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it too.
Thank you. This has been great.
Yeah.
So we give back the merit as the call and response. We do the Thich Nhat Hanh style. May the merit of this practice,
May the merit of this practice
benefit all beings,
benefit all beings
and bring peace.
and bring peace.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Please send her Donna.